Welcome to the chapter Historical Sites, Chandragiri Fort.
This slide presents the overview of the chapter.
Learning objectives. By the end of this chapter, you will be able to list the names of some forts in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Describe the history of Chandragiri Fort. Understand the significance of art and architecture of Chandragiri Fort. Explain the rich heritage and culture of forts. Explain the necessity of protecting the historical buildings. We will first start with the introduction. We all know that history that narrates the events or things that occurred in the past can be known through our historical monuments, forts constructed during that period, inscriptions on rocks and books written, literature at that time. Do you know there are many forts in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh which symbolize the history? In this chapter, let us know about the history of one such fort, that is the Chandragiri Fort, in detail. Let us first know about the different forts in Telangana. Forts or fortifications are buildings constructed to serve as defense in warfare as well as military bases. Forts play a crucial role in the protection of a region or territory. In the ancient period, forts were constructed by kings for protection from enemies and as a symbol of their victories. Let us first know about the different forts in Telugu states. In our Telugu states, there are many forts reflecting the history of the states. Some of them are Udayagiri Fort, Nellore; Penugonda Fort, Anantapur; Chandragiri Fort, Chittor; Golconda Fort, Hyderabad; Falaknuma Palace, Hyderabad; Orugallu Fort, Warangal; Ramagiri Killa, Karimnagar; Domakonda Fort, Nizamabad; Devarkonda Fort, Nalgonda; Bhuvangiri Fort, Nalgonda; Rachakonda Fort, Nalgonda; Khammam Killa, Khammam; Medak Killa, Medak; Gadwal Fort, Mehboob Nagar; Vanaparthi Fort, Mehboob Nagar. Here is the table showing the details of the forts. Knowledge check. Attempt the following questions to check your understanding. Now, let us know about the history of Chandragiri Fort. Chandragiri Fort is located in Chittor district of Andhra Pradesh. It is at distance of 14 kilometers from Tirupati. Now, let us know how the fort got its name as Chandragiri. The local myth says that once the moon or Chandra did penance on this hill and Lord Shiva was pleased and gave him boons. Hence the name Chandragiri is derived. Let us now look into the gateways of Chandragiri Fort. Chandragiri Fort has two gateways. These two gates are 1 kilometer apart from each other. The way leading to these gateways is in the shape of the letter Z. Huge fort walls are present on either side of these gates. We can reach Chandragiri Fort after crossing these two gateways. This fort was built in 1000 AD by Imadi Yadav Narasimha Raelu. He used to rule over Narayan Avanam near the city of Chandragiri. Around 500 years back, the Saluf kings of Vijayanagar Empire, Narsim Rai, took over this fort and ruled Chandragiri and stayed in this fort. During Narasimha Rai period, the city developed rapidly, and at that time Chandragiri was the capital city of Vijayanagar Empire. In the first, Hampi was the capital city, and then it was shifted to Penugonda and from there to Chandragiri. Later, the kings of Aravati dynasty ruled the Vijayanagar Empire with Chandragiri as their permanent capital city. Further, during the rule of Sri Venkatpati Deva Rai of Aravati dynasty, this fort became famous. Now, let us study about the importance of Raj Mahal. There are several buildings in Chandragiri Fort. Among those, the most important one is Raj Mahal. There are 3 gopurams on Raj Mahal. The middle one is taller than the other 2. The base of each gopuram is wider and are thinner towards the apex. This is the Dravid style of architecture. The walls of this building is made up of stones, while the roof is made with brick and lime. There are verandas and rooms in the mahal. This resembles Indo-Turkish style of architecture. Now, let us know about Rani Mahal. The top floor of Rani Mahal was used when the king and the queen wanted to address their people and for the meetings with the soldiers. Soldiers used to stay there. Knowledge check. Attempt the following questions to check your understanding. Till now, we have learnt about the buildings of both Rani Mahal and Raj Mahal. Now, let's compare their roof with that of our house roof. It is different. In the Raja Mahal, the roof is divided into many squares. In each square, there is a design. This design is called as stucco. Thus, stucco remained as an example of the engineering skills in those days. They used stone as the basic material for the construction. The windows on the 4 sides and the arches of the Raj Mahal were built with the stone. Here, let us study about the fort walls of Chandragiri Fort. The fort wall in Chandragiri surrounds the entire fort. This wall is huge and wide. In between the walls, there are watchtowers. Adjacent to the fort wall, there is a hill on which there is mandapam. During the month of Kartik, people light lamps in this mandapam. The Vijayanagar Empire, Sri Krishna Devaraya, used to visit Chandragiri Fort to worship Lord Venkateshwar, and then he used to reside in the Raj Mahal. While worshipping in the mandapam, people used to ring the bell by hearing the bell sound from the Kalyan Venkateshwar Swami temple at the foothills in Tirupati. By hearing the bell sound in Mandapam, Shri Krishna Devarya would perform puja in the Raj Mahal and would take his meal as prasadam. Apart from this, there is another myth on ringing the bell. In those days, the punishments used to be very severe. The accused were hanged. For this purpose, a mandapam was built on the hill on one side in the fort so that it was seen by everyone in the city. Now, let us study about the rich heritage and culture of rulers. The constructions of great buildings and temples by rulers in olden days reveals the rich heritage and culture of our country. These constructions provide us the best of the workmanship and the architectural skills of those people. They also give us information about the lifestyle of the king, his people, their festivals, their customs and traditions, the mode of entertainment, the clothing of the people, and so on. Thus, we need to protect these historical sites. Let us know the temples located inside Chandragiri fort. The Chandragiri kings built the temples of Lord Shiva and Lord Rama in the fort. These temples are constructed by using huge stones except for gopurams. The gopurams were constructed by using bricks. The temple of Lord Ram was destroyed, whereas that of Shiva is in better shape and is even visited by the people. The forts and the temples were built with locally available materials by local people. Here, let us study about the importance of forts. The remainders of the Vijayanagar Empire and the sculptures from temples were preserved in the museum. This museum is maintained by the Archaeological Survey of India, or ASI. We need to protect the old structures as they reveal our culture and its greatness. Stop harming. Start saving. It's a rich heritage. We must safely pass on as legacy to the future generations. Knowledge check. Attempt the following questions to check your understanding. Let us perform an activity of identifying the names of the historical sites of Telangana. Identify the names of the following images and drag and drop the respective name onto the respective image. Keywords. List of keywords are shown on the screen. Summary. Let us recap the highlights of this chapter. Forts or fortifications are buildings constructed to serve as defense in warfare as well as military bases. Forts play a crucial role in the protection of a region or territory. Chandragiri Fort is located in Chittor district of Andhra Pradesh. Chandragiri Fort was built in 1000 AD by Imadi Yadav Narasimha Railu. Around 500 years back, the son of kings of Vijayanagar Empire, Narasimha Rai took over this fort and ruled Chandragiri and stayed in this fort. During the rule of Sri Venkatpati Deva Rai of Aravati dynasty, this fort became famous. There are several buildings in Chandragiri Fort. Among these, the most important are Raj Mahal, Rani Mahal. The rooms and verandas in the Raj Mahal resembles Indo-Turkish style of architecture. The constructions of great buildings and temples by rulers in olden days reveals the rich heritage and culture of our country. The Vijayanagar Empire, Sri Krishna Devaraya used to visit Chandragiri Fort to worship Lord Venkateshwar, and then he used to reside in the Raj Mahal. There are Lord Shiva and Lord Rama temples in the Chandragiri Fort. The remainders of the Vijayanagar Empire and the sculptures from temples were preserved in the Fort Museum. This museum is maintained by the Archaeological Survey of India, or ASI. Stop harming the old structures. It's a rich heritage. We must safely pass on as legacy to the future generations. Read the questions and attempt the answers on your own. You can click answer for your reference. Follow-up work. Visit any building or an ancient temple nearby, observe and write a note on it. The archaeological department displays a board near the historical sites and temples. Read it and explain it to your friends. Gather information about the historical buildings or the old temples of your district in detail and tabulate it. Test your understanding of the chapter by taking the mock unit test. You have successfully completed the chapter Historical Sites, Chandragiri Fort.